You have extensive history in terms of being a successful product designer. Give us like a overview of what is product design and those three different components of it.
Yeah. Product design is is an umbrella term. Under product design, there is the user interface designer that we call UI designer. There is the user experience designer, and then there's the user experience researcher. And they all work together in order to be able to produce a really solid product. The user experience researcher is the one who is going to be doing a lot of testing of the hypothesis, the design hypothesis that the user experience designer creates. They're the ones who are going to go on like a usability hub or usability.com, and they're going to get a cohort of people who identify as your ideal customer set, and that you're able to get them to go through a test design of the product and to be able to validate like, hey, we were able to get them to the magic. We asked them to just simply do this thing, and they were able to do it with very minimal friction. So we do have a solid design, a solid layout and experience. Your user interface designer, that's the one who makes all the bells and whistles, makes everything look beautiful. But your user experience designer, that is the one who is really managing the crossroad between art and science. And this is what I mean by that is that there is, as you were talking about and you alluded to with that Venn diagram, there are these three groups, and one is the very first one that holds prominence when they come into the conversation is, what does the business need? The company owners, the people who are higher up who want the work done, they will generally come to you and say, "Hey, we need a design for a new website. Hey, I think we need a mobile app. Hey, I think we need an app on a smartwatch or whatever." And they'll come to you and they'll prescribe to you how it is that their business needs to be solved. And that's when it's very important for you as a user experience designer to be able to say, "I hear what you're saying, but can you tell me more about your problem and what you're trying to solve?" "Well, we need to generate more revenue." "Oh, okay. Well, we also need to be able to collect data that we can then de-identify, and then we can turn around and sell by creating a more personalized experience for them." "Oh, okay. All right. Now that I hear those things, now I can go to the customer and I can say, in the grand scheme of like their journey to getting to this solution, what are they experiencing already, and how are they solving their problem already, that the company is trying to get them to jump over to them to allow them to solve their problem and part with their money and part with their data." Right? So now I'm going to that second circle, which is the customer needs, understanding the customer needs, and also how do I get them to what we call the magic as quickly as possible, which is for them, the magic is them coming to your company and realizing, aha, they actually have the solution, a faster, better solution, more quality solution to my problem. So that's the second one. And then the third one is as equally as important, which is I need to understand what our technical limitations are. So if let's say the idea that we have is for is going to be for an experience that is on a mobile in a mobile experience, but yet your dev team for the company, they currently don't have the team of developers who build for tablet, whatever the case may be, just, giving us a scenario. Now you have to figure out, how do we then design for a different experience and get the same outcome? So you have those three, and they're right in the middle where they intersect. That's where you have to live. So now you are designing out and what you believe in an ideal experience is that will get the company more money, and more data if that's what the need is, get the customer to experience an aha moment and a wow moment very quickly, and at the same time works within the wheelhouse and the capabilities of what your tech team is doing.
Hey, what's up, guys? I just want to interrupt your video real quick. Do me a favor and hit the subscribe button below. And feel free to share it with a friend. I hope you guys enjoy this clip, and I'll let you get back to it. For somebody that's interested about either UX or user experience research, what kind of skill set do they need to have in terms of like maybe technical skills they need to know or soft skills?
For a user experience designer, really, you have to understand psychology. One of the things that has always like blew people's hair back, and I'm just like, it ain't, it's not rocket science, but you do have to do your research on what's called neuromarketing. So in neuromarketing, it's this understanding that like our response to purchase either comes from our amygdala, the fight or flight area,
Okay.
or it comes from the higher region where we start going into logic and reason,
So impulse or logic?
impulse or logic, right?
Yeah.
Generally, as a marketer, their job is to get you to be an impulse buyer for majority of things. So if you remember Microsoft competing against Apple, and Microsoft would go and they had this guy, I think it was the guy who was on Jeepers Creepers or whatever. It's weird that I remember that, but that's where I remember him from. But he's in this white room, and he's talking to this guy who's supposed to represent a Mac, and he's supposed to represent PC.
Oh, I
You remember
remember
that?
that. Yeah, I remember that
Yeah.
commercial.
And they were going and they were talking specs. They were talking logic,
Yeah, I
right?
remember that.
And so they assumed that their customer is so intellectual that that's how they want to make the decision. But what Apple understood is that more poignant, powerful, and what has greater drawing power is emotion and impulse. Because
Mm.
in order for you to get to logic, you got to pass through impulse, right? If I can get you to never get to the place where you start using the higher regions of your brain to work through logic, then I win. So that's where you're looking at when you're talking about a UX designer. They really need to understand psychology of a customer. And there's not a whole bunch of, hey, you need to have this skill set and that skill set.
So psychology is really important. If somebody wants to go get started learning, what would you recommend? Like YouTube, Udemy, or what?
Understand how it is that you consume information. If you consume information well from books, and because you can really it can really sink in because you can work through it mentally,
Hmm.
like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I understand. If you are a visual person, go to YouTube, go to Coursera, go to Udemy, find great instructors who really dive into the whole thing, the foundations of user experience design.
Yeah,
And then also understand, like, identify, are you a design person? Are you a psychology person? Or are you a research addict?
gotcha.
If you are a research addict, then you would be better off as a user experience researcher.
Okay,
If you love psychology, the science of, and all those things, then you're going to lean more towards user experience design, right? Still requires a little bit of design, where you can wireframe things out and whatnot, which is just bare bones, doesn't require you to put color to it and all that. But then if you really love design, then you're a user interface designer. So just understand and know where it is that your baseline strong capabilities and value sets that you're bringing into it,
hmm,
so that you don't put yourself in a career and in a place that you really don't have a desire for.
gotcha. So one last product design question
Sure.
for you in terms of careers. We got to talk about the money, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Yeah.
that's important in every aspect, in every way of life. So, what kind of salary can people expect? I know it depends on location, but maybe in your experience, with what you're comfortable sharing, what kind of salary can somebody expect as a product designer?
You're talking about starting out, somewhere in the 85 range.
Okay,
In most major cities, you're talking about 85K. And so, that's transformational for a lot of people, right? But then, like, once you get from a junior to a mid, now you're crossing six figures. You're at like 105, 110. But again, if you really go at it and say, how can I be valuable? Because I gotta understand when I go on Indeed that they're giving me the median rate, which is saying these are average UX designers, our average product designers, who wakes up and says, "Yo, I'm gonna be average today." I'm not that dude.
Facts.
So,
Facts.
so like building out my value set and capabilities, um, there was for a long time, and I really want to express to you guys like this moment. I'm gonna tell you, this is confidence. This is not arrogance. Understand when you put in the work and you put in the time to be valuable, and you walk into a room, you should never be concerned because it's their loss if you are now a Swiss Army knife of usage and value, and they look at you and they want to price you at average. When you bring value to the table, value talks. You know what I'm saying? We talk about money talks,
Yeah.
value talks. Value will make them say, shoot, I know we put a budget on this, but this, like, we can't lose this guy.
Mhm.
We can't lose this girl because they are so much more valuable than what we could even see on a resume. So that's when you're talking numbers, don't just look at what the average is what they're paying. Look at that. Start with that as your baseline,
Yeah.
and then say, do I bring any uncommon value to the table that could get me 15K more?
Gotcha.